This is a video I've wanted to make for so long, but other things have always found a way to get in the way of making it. So today we're finally doing it. This is one way to make all of your videos instantly better in the editing suite. I call it like motivated by movement. So there's no denying that an edit that just flows through and is a lot more seamless is a lot more enjoyable and better than something that's jarring for the viewer to watch. When I'm in the editing suite, there's one thing I like to look for when I'm trying to tie different clips together. That is movement. So now we're gonna roll a 50-second edit. We're gonna have a look at a few different cuts that I made in this and see how those cuts were motivated by movement and tied different clips together. And just before we roll that video, if you haven't subscribed and given this one a big fat thumbs up, please do so. It's been really cool on this journey with you guys. We're almost at 2,000 subs, so it's pretty cool. Anyway, let's get on with this. This edit was a part of Sam Newton's editing competition. You might have already seen it if you follow me on Instagram. So if you want to watch it again, watch ahead, and if you don't and you just want the breakdown, skip ahead 50 seconds. Roll the clip.
You discover who you really are when you immerse yourself in the unfamiliar. When I grew up in sub-Saharan Africa and moved to Kansas alone at the age of 19. I used to fear the unknown, then I learned to embrace it, and that's when things got fun. I became obsessed with the process, the long nights, the early mornings. I began to take pride in doing things a little differently. Because of that, I've been able to travel to over 30 countries creating for some of the world's leading brands, and I don't plan on slowing down anytime soon. So get out there, embrace the unknown, and live your legacy.
So sometimes editing can be a very thankless job because sometimes if you do your job well, no one should know that you did it at all. So for my edit, I wanted it to kind of be fairly clean and just flow and take the viewer on a subconscious journey. In this edit, I did it mainly through match cuts. Now, match cuts are where you match similar shapes, objects, movements, etc. from clip 1 to clip 2. I've got a whole nother video on different sort of cuts that you can do in video, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and click on up here after you've watched this video, of course. Let's go through these in chronological order. Number 1. The first clip that we're going to look at is a pretty simple one. This is our subject, Karl Shakur. He's just walking from left to right, and it's a simple mask transition from clip 1 to clip 2. Okay. So the original file of that first clip actually has Karl walking from right to left. Now, because there's no text, there's no logos or anything, I can simply flip that transition, and now I've got two clips where he's both walking from left to right, and I can stitch those together seamlessly. Sometimes you gotta use your mouse. Now, because when we view videos, we actually look most of the time at our subject. So if Karl was gonna be walking left to right there, and the next clip was left to right, it would look semi-fluid. But what really ties this one together is as the first clip exits, there's actually some ferns in the shot, and then we're moving into the leaves of the rainforest in clip 2. That just kind of seamlessly blends those clips together, just that little extra step. So it's a much more fluid transition. Our viewers subconsciously don't necessarily recognize that we've gone from scene A to scene B. So having elements present in clip 1 and clip 2 can almost make this seem like the same clip to an extent. Transition number 2. As we exit the clip from our previous transition, we move into the first clip of our new transition. Note that Karl is still moving from left to right, and this really helps sell the fluidity of the video. Now for the actual cut. So watch Karl's braid. As he leans his head forward, his braid falls forward as well. And then as we move into clip 2, some helicopter turbulence pushes that braid forward again, and that is what's going to be our stitch for this clip. This one's one of my favorites because it did take a bit of time, positioning, scale to kind of line the head and line the braids up. Obviously our head in the second clip is larger, that's fine. We're keeping things fairly close together, fairly similar from frame 1 to frame 2. It's subtle and you might even say you didn't even notice it, but like I said before, sometimes with editing, if you do a good job, you won't even notice it. That's because we're taking your mind on a journey and your mind is acknowledging that that same motion happened in clip 1 and in clip 2, and it's kind of tying things together. Ideally, I'd like to have his eye line the same from clip 1 to clip 2, but that wasn't entirely possible with the way that these two clips were shot. It was just one of my favorite ones because it's entirely subconscious, but a lot of our job as editors is doing exactly that. A subconscious journey. Your subconscious journey to a guide, whatever. Editors. From here, we exit with Karl's head turning from the right to the left hand side. We're going to put a blurry clip over this moving in that same direction, and this is going to help tie two different scenes together, moving from the sky down to the ground. And to really send it through,
you guys silly? I'm still gonna send it.
when we get down to the ground, our next clip, the camera movement is going to move in that same direction. Kind of like if Carl's head was turning left to right, this is what he would see, if that makes sense. So all three of those clips, while they're all different, were all linked together. From here we move to Carl walking, and as his right leg goes forward and we cut clips, you guessed it, the next clip is his right leg moving forward, finishing that step. Albeit it's a different step, but if you had one clip with his right leg going forward and then the next clip with his left foot, it just wouldn't make sense. And you go, hang on, that's a mistake. I'll put number 4 here, but this all really links together. As the camera pans up Carl's backpack, you'll find that from clip 1 to clip 2, the backpack is in a very similar position. This is going to help tie those different clips together and get us from scene to scene. This then flows into number 5. So it's the same clip of Carl looking out that window, and as he turns his head, bang, we're into the next scene, and it's the exact same positioning of his face, so that helps sell the scene. We're into the next place. The clip with Carl looking out the window is actually being played back in reverse, and this ties clips 1 and 3 together. So without reversing that clip, none of that section works at all. That's our job sometimes as filmmakers, is sometimes you see make lemonade out of lemons.
When life gives you lemonade, make lemons.
I'm not saying these clips were lemons at all, but I wasn't there to shoot it, so I had to make the best out of the situation that I was given. So it's finding these little things, reversing clips, flipping clips, tying things together. That's what our job is as an editor. Number 6. So for this to get from the bike scene through to the hotel scene with Carl on the computer, this one was easy. This was just using position and scale to match the head positions from clip 1 to clip 2, both on that same side profile, facing from right to the left hand side of frame. Number 7. So as we move from clips 1 to 2 in this situation, this is Carl being static at the table on the computer. Obviously there's some movement, it's not like it's been shot on sticks or anything, but as Carl's hand moves up to his face, when you look at the watch the whole time, that's probably what's been grabbing our attention. So the next shot, you guessed it, the watch is in the same place. So if you were looking at that watch, which you probably were,
Watch me.
there's probably like a 98% chance.
60% of the time, it works every time.
You've subconsciously traveled to the next scene, watch is in the same place. Oh, hang on, we're in the rainforest now. So if as the scene cut, you were looking at the watch and didn't really notice so much and it wasn't very jarring that we went from place 1 to place 2, that means I did my job. Number 8. Now this one is not so much an amazing transition or anything like that. This is more tying clips 1 and 3 together more than it is 1 and 2 together. So if we go back to where we had the blurry clip put between the helicopter scene and being on the ground, this is a similar sort of thing. So as the hand comes down, the water movement is traveling in the same direction. But what that does, it introduces water, the new environment for the next shot, which is going to be the drone shot over the water and the waterfall in the background. Just tying elements together from clips 1 to clips 3 by that little thing in clip 2. This might sound like a bit of a Da Vinci Code, but trust me, it's way simpler than that. Number 9. This is where Carl is sitting on the bike, and as he moves forward and his hand grabs the handlebar, we cut to clip 2 of him at nighttime in the car with his hand goes to adjust on the steering wheel. Now going from night to day, it's a pretty big contrast. So I was trying to look for a movement that would allow me to go from that night to that day without being too jarring. Having that movement just allows you a little bit to take the edge off, and it's not just a contrasty cut. Now the clip of Carl in the car, it is actually a longer clip and it didn't look good just sitting there. I couldn't speed ramp it through, it just looked funny and I wasn't going to just have a random cut. So I knew I wanted to use the second part of that clip to tie us back into the daytime, matching headlight to headlight on the car to sell a transition there. So I had to work out how to get from the first part of that clip to the second part. Now I'm not saying this is a brilliant transition or anything, but because it was red inside the car, I could put a red film burn over the top. Now I was using film burns throughout this project, so it made sense and fit with the vibe of the film. I'm not saying this is genius, I'm just saying this is a way you can hide some transitions sometimes. It's like someone walking across the frame to go from clip 1 to clip 2. It's just hiding it with something, and this was just matching with similar colors in the scene. So as we go from red light in the car, red film burn, second part of that clip, reversing, headlights matching, you're Gucci. The film burn served its purpose, and that's all I wanted. Number 10. Matching the car and the bike, this took a bit of keyframing, position, scale, all that sort of stuff. But in the initial clip, the headlight on the bike is turned off, but the headlight on the car is turned on. And it looked fine without it, but I really wanted that headlight on the bike to be turned on. So what I had to do is go on Google, find myself an image of a bike headlight that kind of looked, good and looked like it fit the vibe of the bike. But I also wanted it to be similar to the other clips. Anyway, I cut this out, I turned it into a PNG, stuck it on top, I tracked this over the top of the position where the headlight was. All of a sudden, we've gone from on the headlight to on headlight. We've got ourselves a transition. It's all these little deceptions and sleight of hand and tricking our viewer into looking over here while we're doing something down here. Getting from scene 1 to scene 2 without them really noticing that we've made that change. Putting in the extra work is always going to be worth it. You might not get thanked for it, but you'll know what you've done. Number 11. As we move from the shot of Carl on the bike, he hits a pothole, there's a bit of a suspension, bit of a jitter, and then as we move into our watch scene, we got that same sort of jitter. Yes, it's two completely different shots and you're not going to watch it and not notice that there's a cut. But it's these little things, these little deceptions, these little sleight of hands that really help sell that to us. And if I just gave you a shot of a motorbike and a shot of a watch, no movement whatsoever, you'd be like, that was an odd change. But because there's those little movements, you got yourself a little bit of a cut. So that was the last of all the transitions that I wanted to break down. But the way you really tie all this together and you really sell it is of course epic sound design. At the end of this video, I'll have the edit playthrough twice. First time, sound design only. Second time, music and sound design. So you can really compare the pair and see what adding a bit of SFX can do to your videos. If I was to summarize the message of this whole video, it would be look for movement. Find familiarities between clips to tie them together. Even manufacture those similarities. Reverse a clip, flip a clip, change the position, change the scale. Do whatever you need to do. Add some sound design, just sell that effect. In this whole edit, there wasn't a single transition from an online influencer travel transitions pack.
I am a travel influencer.
These were all literally hard cuts except for that one mask cut, which was only there because I could flip the script of the first clip to make things work. Everything was literally just a hard cut. It can't get any easier than that as an editor. So next time you edit, look for movements, tie clips together, go out of your way to make something happen and tie it all together with sound design, and you'll have a much more engaging edit that people want to watch. You want your viewer to get lost in the moment, to catch your feel and just to get lost in the video. And if every time the screen changes, their subconscious is telling them that was one fluid shot, I guarantee they'll watch longer and be more engaged with your content. And if they watch it longer, that means they're enjoying it more. No one watches things longer that they're not enjoying. Another cool idea would be go back, find a video you've already edited and re-edit that video motivated by movement style. Be very interested to see what you come up with. It'll be really good for your growth as an editor, but send it to me and I'll send you a bit of a critique. Quick one, guess who just found out that they did not actually record the outro because they ran out of memory? This guy. What a rookie. Anyway, thanks so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're almost at 2,000. Super appreciative of all of you. Building a really cool little community here. I'm very thankful for that. Anyway, go listen to Kendrick Lamar, To Pimp a Butterfly. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
You discover who you really are when you immerse yourself in the unfamiliar. And I grew up in sub-Saharan Africa and moved to Kansas alone at the age of 19. I used to fear the unknown, then I learned to embrace it. And that's when things got fun. I became obsessed with the process. The long nights, the early mornings. I began to take pride in doing things a little differently. Because of that, I've been able to travel to over 30 countries, creating for some of the world's leading brands, and I don't plan on slowing down anytime soon. So get out there, embrace the unknown, and live your legacy. You discover who you really are when you immerse yourself in the unfamiliar. And I grew up in sub-Saharan Africa and moved to Kansas alone at the age of 19. I used to fear the unknown, then I learned to embrace it. And that's when things got fun. I became obsessed with the process. The long nights, the early mornings. I began to take pride in doing things a little differently. Because of that, I've been able to travel to over 30 countries, creating for some of the world's leading brands. And I don't plan on slowing down anytime soon. So get out there, embrace the unknown, and live your legacy. You discover who you really are when you immerse yourself in the unfamiliar. And I grew up in sub-Saharan Africa and moved to Kansas alone at the age of 19. I used to fear the unknown, then I learned to embrace it, and that's when things got fun. I became obsessed with the process, the long nights, the early mornings. I began to take pride in doing things a little differently. Because of that, I've been able to travel to over 30 countries, creating for some of the world's leading brands, and I don't plan on slowing down anytime soon. So get out there, embrace the unknown, and live your legacy.